about to listen to the Dr. Dahlia Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Dahlia Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Dahlia.
We're back on the Dr. Dahlia Show, 1-877-Dr. Dahlia, 1-877-DOCDALI. So my son got me into watching these about 6-9 months ago. He wanted me to watch these rooftoppers or these, what do they call them? Buildering groups, kids, where these young guys and girls decide to scale very tall bridges, buildings, monuments where they're not supposed to. And they have GoPros or body cams. And you see them climb, get as high up, see the view. It's addictive to watch because they're capturing views. But then they also are getting in trouble with the cops. So you see them scatter and try to get down and try to avoid the cops and run and get arrested and they do this. And I mean, they're climbing. I don't know if they've done like the Golden Gate Bridge, but throughout Europe and throughout, wherever they are, because I think this one group, I forget who their name was, they got banned in the whole country of England going into buildings. They then got in trouble for trespassing, so they had to go to other countries to do this. But I mean, they are on things that you would think you wouldn't be allowed to be. And where they're getting this from is obviously humans built these structures and humans need to repair. So what they do is they find the access points to be able to climb the ladder or get up there too. So it's not necessarily that they scale it like a mountain and then have to rappel down or things like that. It's not that they're doing Mission Impossible stuff. It's they're navigating the ladders. They're navigating these things and then going up where they're not supposed to go. And then they capture amazing pictures. So you got this lovebird couple that when I was there in New York, decided to do that at the Empire State Building. And that also, luckily, that I was, I think, on a plane when this, or I think I was already heading to the airport because I wanted to go to I've been to the Empire State Building. It's amazing. I've been there twice. Definitely worth going to. The one World Trade Center tower, the Freedom Tower, also worth seeing. But in terms of views, I really, the Empire State Building's like nothing else. And try to be there at night also when you could see, oh my God, it's amazing. It's amazing. So these two lovebirds wanted to get engaged up by the Needle. Now, when I saw that, I was like, I go, you could get electrocuted. What? You could get thermal burns. How did they do this safely? And it's interesting because you hear other radio folk going, wait a second, how did they get that close to the antenna? You know, without somebody ensuring that they wouldn't get burned. So, giving credit where credit is due. Let me give the names. This duo, oh my gosh, sorry about that. It's taken a while for me to pull this up. Because the Empire State Building, they have a 1,454-foot antenna and needle. And it's a natural lightning rod. Apparently, the Empire State Building gets struck 25 to 100 times a year by lightning. And they say the building acts as an advanced grounding system. It safely disperses the millions of volts of electricity down into the earth. And they say the steel frame of the tower conducts the lightning bolts safely to the ground. People inside the building or on the observation decks when lightning hits, safe. But they say trespassers who climb the antenna, and this couple was not the first one to do it, could face extreme danger if there is natural lightning, not to mention the needle's a powerful broadcast antenna. I mean, I think it does all of New York's local TV and radio stations, etc. So you got a lot of electrical, you got radio frequency energy, you got you can get dangerous radio wave exposure, thermal burns, shocks, even on a clear day. So I'm kind of surprised. So these climbers, Angela Nicolau and Yvonne Birkus, were able to bypass security to scale this. And so what some of the witnesses said is they did, I mean, these daredevils that you see on YouTube and TikTok, they teach you how to do it. They'll just try a door. And if the door is open, I mean, how many times have you been trying to find, I can't say how many times I'm trying to find a bathroom So I open the door and I'm already in an unauthorized area. And that's kind of how they did it. So let me see here. One of the one of the visitors said she witnessed the couple. This is according to ABC Eyewitness News. Open the metal door inside the top observation tower. She said, I didn't see if it was locked. I just saw them open the door and hurry up. Now, this visitor was from South Wales. She said, along came these two people there. They opened the mesh door, went inside, so I assume they work there. So nobody stopped them. How they got the door open, not sure. So according to some of the investigators, they said they didn't just stumble upon a hatch. So they think somebody cased the joint and, knew, where, I guess they probably put a lot of time into this. And if you look at their pictures of them posing and I'm sure she had to have known he was going to propose, because, but anyway, so, when you got down on one knee and you see them kissing and they got some amazing views. Somebody had to have been doing the drone. Somebody had to videotape. How did they get the video up that high? So somebody had to have been operating a drone. So I'm still not sure of all the details, but this is a thing that people are doing. Remember, they're not working. Okay. I mean, nobody seems to be having jobs anymore. So they're scaling tall buildings, very, very dangerous. And my fear is we're going to see more and more sad cases of people falling or hurting themselves or getting arrested or whatever. And you're in, I think, I don't have the list of charges, but I think they're in trouble for burglary. I think there's trespassing. I think there's, I'm sorry, I don't have all the, I don't think I have all the list of their charges of reckless endangerment, not to mention this is Midtown. So what Empire State Building is 36th Street or something like that. I mean, if they had to, because there were climbers and they had to make sure these people didn't die, while there's all this Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce BS going on for Madison Square Garden and their wedding coming up, they had to stop traffic and put resources of police for this couple who just want to become famous. And they're famous now. And they're probably going to get some jobs, and they're probably now influencers, and and they got some really cool pictures. But if you ask them, is it worth it? They're going to probably say yes. Don't do it. It's dangerous. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY. Hi, everyone. Dr. Dahlia here. Thousands of physicians, residents, nurses, and medical students are silently dealing with depression. And tragically, 400 take their lives each year. 400! I wrote The Depressed Doctor, hoping to reach out to anyone struggling. You're not alone. Don't stay silent. The Depressed Doctor can be found on Amazon, or the book can be found on drdahlia.com. And if you or anyone you know needs help, call or text 988, the National Suicide and Crisis Hotline.
Increase fuel economy up to 7.9% with Hot Shot Secret Gasoline Extreme, the solution to maximize your engine's performance and fuel economy. Whether you're driving a sports car or a daily commuter, Gasoline Extreme is specially formulated with PEA to deep clean. Don't settle for an average driving experience. Upgrade to Hot Shot Secret Gasoline Extreme and go further on each tank. Order now on Amazon or HotShotSecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
Let's face it, guys, we're living in times where the truth is becoming more suppressed and censorship is increasing at an alarming rate, especially on social media platforms. It's Clyde, and I want to tell you about a safe and secure digital playground we put together just for you. It's Aftermath.media. You get access to thousands of Ground Zero archives and podcasts, along with our private social media groups with your basic membership starting at only $7 a month. Each subscription includes tech support, access to the RSS feeds, along with our own chat room and Telegram channel. In addition, the premium membership includes research study groups, webinars, a document and movie library, a live video stream of Ground Zero, a monthly Zoom chat with me, and other bonus content. Be sure to check out our yearly specials as well. Sign up today while you're thinking about it. Sign up at Aftermath.media. Again, that's Aftermath.media.
All right, we are back on the Dr. Dolly Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Doc Dolly, 1-877 DOCDALI. Big change. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to you all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Dahlia, Facebook, The Dr. Dahlia Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So if we don't want to go extinct, if we don't want to have mental health crises, financial crises, physical health crises, relationship crises, we need to just learn how to do one thing. It's the same thing all across the board. Just the one simple thing we need to learn how to do. Accept change. Now you can think, oh man, Dr. Dahlia, I thought I was investing in SpaceX, or come on, give me something I could do. No, this is, I'm really serious about this. We don't know how to adapt to change. We don't expect change. We get into our little bubble because that's how humans are designed. It takes us so long to acclimate, and to learn our spouse and to get comfortable with that. And we learn our surroundings and we learn our job, and we work so hard to understand and progress and to shall we say graduate with the degree or the training or whatever, so that we finally make it to that perch, to that ledge, only for it to change a day or two later. And I've had a lot of critiques with how my parents raised me, but one definite positive that I have to give them, and I hated them for this, but I have to thank them, is they trained me for change, moving me all the time, making me, anytime I would fall in love with the pet they would take away, things like that. I mean, I didn't like the way they parented, but I learned that whatever school I'm in, whatever home I'm in, whatever animal I love, at any moment, that can change. And I learned how to adapt. And I still don't like change. I don't want to move again. I don't want to get new friends. I don't want to get a new job. Because again, our instinct is to learn where we need to be and what we need to do, and effectively execute that, and then feel good and confident, and then do it again, and then do it again. We're supposed to be creatures of habit. But time and time again, we just crumble because there's change. Now, am I an expert in that? No. My knee is changing. My hips are changing. My athletic abilities are changing. So I'm walking hundreds of blocks this weekend or this week, running around, going uptown, midtown, whatever, downtown, and my knees are different. That's change, which means I now have to stop. I have to get water. I have to pee when I used to never have to pee. Things are changing, and we don't like it. We don't like to change. When older individuals have to live in a new assisted living, that's change. They don't like it because they work so hard to get accustomed and learn how to navigate and learn how to be successful in their little bubble. Now, you have some people that go, Dr. Dahlia, I get bored if I'm in one place, or if I'm in one relationship, or if in one. So I get bored. I want to jump around. Mind you, I think it is exciting to hold multiple jobs, multiple positions. I do. I think that's fun. But, I mean, it took me 30 years to learn my husband. I'm still learning. Right? I am not ready to do that again with another man. No. All right? Just, and luckily, it's pretty solid now. But God forbid, what if something happens? Something changes. What if one of these New York City firefighters, calls me up going, Dahlia, I saw you, when we were dealing with that fire, and you were helping that person who got hit by a bus. You want to go out? And what if, I have a lapse in judgment and say no, and then I actually wake up the next day going, hell yeah, I think yes. No. But I mean, things can happen. Things can change. I'll never cheat on Corey, but firefighters are, that's my Achilles heel. let's not go into that. But so what do? I mean, many of you now are starting to crumble because your industry, your career is changing. I had a big adjustment with telemedicine. I go from being trained where you don't do anything without a full H&P, and any shortcut or half-assed, you're a bad doctor, you're this, and all of a sudden now I'm doing telemedicine 50, 60 hours a week. I'm loving it. But that was a big change. And you have a lot of doctors that just freak out going, I can't do it. There's no way I could do it. That's a complete opposite. That's whatever. Yet how did I bridge that? How did I adapt? Well, because I'm licensed in multiple states like Alabama, Mississippi, Wisconsin, Iowa. And when they tell me there's no doctor for miles, I'm like, okay, then I need to help you. I need to help you any way I can, even if it's only with my voice. And so, yeah, I know my voice isn't very therapeutic, but, when you're desperate, you'll listen to my voice. So, we have to learn to adapt. And here we are with AI taking over a lot of people's jobs. And we're being told by these industry leaders, we're going to have to adapt. And you're telling me what? I went to school. I learned how to do something the right way. I went through different corporations to, marketing, whatever you did. You learned exactly what was needed to be done. You learned this coding, you learned this Excel, you learned this spreadsheet, you learned whatever. And then now you're being told it's going to be different again. And the older you are, the harder it is to change. I just saw Devil Wears Prada 2. Great movie. I thought they did a really good job with the Devil Wears Prada sequel. And the Devil Wears Prada 2, one of the premises is things are changing. And Miranda, who's running Runway Magazine, has to adapt to the changes. And if you don't know how to adapt, you die. And it's all about figuring out how to adapt because changes will always happen. Somebody is going to throw a monkey wrench or throw you a curveball. And you have to be able to be prepared for that. I still have boxes that are boxed up from when I moved into my house about 10, 11 years ago. And my husband's like, when do you want to unpack these boxes? And I go, I don't, because just in case we move again. I never unpacked because we always moved as a kid. Why would I unpack if we're going to be moving again in 6 months? And so I'm not saying that's the best way to adapt. I mean, you do have to unpack a box. If not, that you don't get what's in that box. And do you even need that box? And should you donate it? Whatever's in it. But, I'm right now, I feel like I'm doing okay, but my son is getting married. Love that. Love who he's getting married. But there's going to be changes. Good changes. But am I ready for that? Yeah, it's changes happen and we just don't train people for that. Now, I told you one of the issues a lot of people have with their in-laws is they have their life plan. They have their path. And then all of a sudden, there's all these new family members going, but no, this is my path. And you're now in my path. And you're like, no, stay the hell out of my path. Let me do my path. And so, there's always change. And nobody expects that. For me, I've always expected it. I've known that there could be job changes, career changes, people leaving me. I got dumped by so many guys that when I was dating Corey, I was like, really waiting, going, when are you going to dump me? You haven't dumped me yet. You've lasted longer than any other guy. He's like, we're only 48 hours in. We're only on day 2. I go, I know. This is a record for me. So the younger generation is learning that because they aren't in a job for 10, 20 years. They aren't in a relationship that long. They're already learning that somebody you meet and fall in love with might not be the person you're with. So they are learning how to adapt. But then on the other end, nobody's committing. So you're seeing the opposite where they're like, well, I'm not going to get hurt. I'm not going to get used to. I'm not going to put all this effort into learning this new job and this corporate landscape and structure because it's going to be a waste when I have to go someplace else. Why do I have to learn this information in class when it's all going to be AI'd for me? So now you're seeing this lack of commitment, which can also hurt and cause us to become extinct because you still got to build. You still got to find a home. You still have to make a home. So I don't have all the answers on how to really work through, I got some suggestions as it comes to change and all that. And, boy, are things changing faster than they ever have. But for those of you feeling kind of off and sad and concerned and just stop and go, okay, how have I prepared for change? We can't predict the future, but the one thing we can predict is there's going to be change. So try and prepare for that. 1-877 Doc Dolly. Don't go away.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems and their solutions. For example,
diesel fuel cetane levels.
in many states, the cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts. Due to a cleaner burn, there are less hydrocarbons and particulate matter in your exhaust. This reduces the blockage of your diesel particulate filter. Using Diesel Extreme generates 83% less DPF regeneration. The 6-in-1 Diesel Extreme formula also includes the most concentrated detergent on the market, lubricity enhancer, water demulsifier, rust and corrosion inhibitors, and a fuel stabilizer.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
Back on the Dr. Dahlia Show, 1-877 Dr. Dolly, 1-877 DOCDALI. I don't like rabies. Rabies scares the hell out of me. And unfortunately, some of the victims to rabies are innocent kids that just don't, know that about rabies or that the animal could hurt them. I believe the American Animal Disease Laboratory reports 10 to 20 cases of bat rabies per year in Nevada alone. I don't have national numbers, but an 11-year-old boy in Canada has died from rabies. He woke up to find a bat on his nose and mouth, according to the Canadian Medical Association Journal and being reported by Euronews. The boy died in a hospital in Ontario after developing severe symptoms, including bulbar palsy, which is a neurological condition affecting the nerves controlling muscles for speaking, swallowing, and breathing. And the family said that about 19 days before his initial onset of symptoms, he was in a cottage in northern Ontario and was awoken by a bat on his face. He swatted the bat away. The father caught it, released it, and the boy had no scratches or any visible lesions. And the parents didn't really think the bat was behaving erratically. Like, in the cartoons, the dogs would be foaming at the mouth and looking all angry and acting all. So they didn't think the bat acted anything abnormal, although I think it's abnormal for a bat to go on a human's face. Sadly, the parents didn't think to seek medical advice. The boy later began experiencing facial numbness and swelling, went to a local urgent care, was prescribed antiviral medication for suspected Bell's palsy. Bell's palsy is where you have temporary weakness or lack of movement along one side of the face. It could follow a cold. And so it's a temporary paralysis. And so oftentimes the urgent care will give you an antiviral. The same antiviral we'll give for like shingles or chickenpox and a steroid. Unfortunately, if it's rabies, that's not going to cut it. He had 2 consecutive visits to the hospital after he began vomiting, developing pain while swallowing, and then was given a diagnosis of severe herpes gingivostomatitis, which is an oral herpes infection that causes painful sores. Sometimes the very first time you get herpes 1, the cold sore herpes, sometimes these kids will get severe mouth pain from it. The condition of the child began to deteriorate. He got a fever, had difficulty swallowing, confusion, hallucinations, hypersalivation, neurological conditions, had to be intubated, put in a pediatric ICU. Medical staff consulted with infectious disease. When he was in the PICU, the pediatric ICU, they suspected rabies because they learned of the bat exposure. Tests confirmed rabies on day 4 of his hospital course. They said the patient's hospital course was complicated by autonomic dysfunction, ventilator-associated pneumonia, progressive neurological decline. By day 5, he was brain dead. Life-sustaining therapies were withdrawn on day 17 of admission, and he died peacefully with his family at his bedside. This is heartbreaking. What could have been done? Any bat exposure or animal exposure, consider getting evaluated and ask the medical provider if maybe you should get preventative rabies vaccines. Because when rabies hits, it can be fatal very easily. Rabies is caused by a virus. It's transmitted through a bite. Dogs are the most common animal to transmit it to humans, but it more commonly infects bats, coyotes, raccoons, skunks, jackals, mongooses, foxes. So even though we always think about dogs, because of the cartoons and because kids are around dogs a lot, we see it a lot more in bats. Now, animals may be agitated and may be foaming at the mouth. They may hypersalivate because if they have rabies, that's what rabies does to them. But just because an animal isn't agitated or foaming at the mouth doesn't mean they're not carrying rabies. The virus affects the central nervous system, including the brain, can be fatal. Once the symptoms appear, it's often too late. It's too late to save the animal, and it's too late to save the patient. So once exposed to the infected saliva, so what we think happened is saliva of the bat got into the child's mouth or nose, and the mouth and nose mucosal membranes absorb the virus. Then it gets through the peripheral nervous system, which are the nerves and the limbs outside the brain and spinal cord. The central nervous system is your brain and spinal cord. Your peripheral are your limbs. It travels to the nerves and the muscle. It'll replicate there and then eventually work itself up to the brain. The incubation period is the time when it takes from exposure until symptoms show. Sadly, with rabies, the average incubation period, actually this could be an advantage for some, can range anywhere from a few days to years, with the average lasting a few weeks. If you have any exposure, the sooner you can get the preventative vaccine, the better. During the incubation period, the patient may not know they're infected. And meanwhile, the pathogen is multiplying and spreading. Then you could get this prodrome, where you feel flu-like. Pain at the site of the bite, muscle soreness, fever, headache, anxiety, malaise. Then you could go to nausea, vomiting, sore throat, cough. I know people say, well, gosh, this is like COVID. The problem is you'll also start feeling some neurological signs like numbness, tingling, unexplained burning pain. These symptoms could last anywhere from 2 to 10 days. And then you could go into the acute neurological phase. The acute neurological phase is where you get more anxious, more agitated, insomnia, where you can't sleep, loss of sex drive, priapism, prolonged erections can be a sign of rabies, hallucinations, photophobia, where you have problems looking at the light bothers you. You could become paralyzed, muscle rigidity, muscle twitching, convulsions, seizures, difficulty swallowing, difficulty breathing. And interestingly, some people with rabies have hydrophobia. Hydrophobia is hydro, water, phobia, fear of water. It's very unique to those with rabies. And people will not want to swallow water when they have rabies and how it affects the brain. Unfortunately, you can then go into a coma. A deep state of unconsciousness can occur within a week of the initial symptoms. And then despite ventilatory support for breathing, many die of cardiac or respiratory arrest. Most rabies infections are fatal. Why? Because we don't find out and figure it out until it's too late. But there's some hope if we could get the rabies immune globulin into you. Rabies immune globulin are different from preventative vaccines, like you'd get like with the flu shot. The immune globulin binds and prevents the virus from replicating. 4 to 5 vaccines are given over the next 2 weeks to help stimulate the immune system. If an animal, however, has active rabies, they're going to be probably euthanized. Their brain tissue examined and rabies confirmed. For wild animals. For domesticated animals, if we have less of a suspicion, we will isolate or quarantine. Quarantine is where you question. Isolate is when you know they have them. But for domesticated animals, if you're like, well, I don't know if they have suspected rabies, they'll be observed for 10 days. If they do not elicit any symptoms, then most likely they don't. And I believe they can also test as well. But if you are bit by a wild animal or even next to a wild animal or any possible access to saliva, don't mess with it. You probably want to get post-exposure prophylaxis or the immune globulin. I had a patient that called up telemedicine a few months ago. She said a bat whisked by her, but she has no lesions. I said, you might want to go in and get seen and get protected. Well, I just need you to tell me I'm okay. And I go, I want to tell you you're okay, but I can't because I don't know if you were exposed to the saliva. Well, I don't think so, but I'm not sure. And I go, if you're not sure, let a doctor examine you and talk to you about your options. No, I just want you to tell me I'm good. I can't do that. I want to. And so there was this lady, there was this young girl that found a dog, a little puppy. She wanted to adopt the puppy. The puppy was playing with her. And, young puppies don't have their rabies vaccine. And the puppy gave her rabies. And so, I mean, so avoid wild animals, especially bats. Any exposure, talk to a medical provider. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY.
Hi, everyone. Super Bowl champ Vernon Davis here from Legal Help Center. If you've been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, listen up, because we have legal professionals standing by right now to answer your questions for free. You can find out if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth. The call is free, the consultation is free, and you can speak with a live agent right now. So if you or someone you know were injured in an accident of any kind, call now to find out if you have a case and how much you could potentially get.
Thanks, Vernon. You heard it, folks. If you've been injured, call and find out how much you qualify for. Call 800-679-0800. That's 800-679-0800. 800-679-0800. Advertisement sponsored by Legal Help Center. May not be available in all states. Not available in California.
Have you ever thought you'd like to buy and sell houses but didn't know how or where to get the money? My name is Ron LeGrand, and over the past 40 years, I've bought over 3,000 houses without using my money or credit and taught thousands to do the same. Today, even in a virtual environment, we buy nice houses in nice neighborhoods using no banks, realtors, contractors, or other costly entanglements, and build huge cash flow and wealth without the hassle of tenants, all without credit and little or no money. You don't need a license or experience, and I'll show you exactly how it's done. Text FREE to 99799, and I'll send you my free training. I promise you I'll change the way you think about real estate and open the door to a new lifestyle that doesn't involve risk or rehabs and can quickly replace your current income. Text FREE to 99799, and let me show you how to take your life back and build cash flow and wealth from your home. That's FREE to 99799. Again, FREE to 99799.
I'm back on the Dr. Dolly Show, 1-877-DOC-DOLLY, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So as a physician, I have met many criminals, people who were patients. I had to take care of people that police had brought into the ER, and people who had made parole, and those who have did their time, come out, rehabilitated. And, I've gotten asked, do I feel most criminals can rehabilitate? Well, it depends on their crime. But if somebody is a murderer or a serial killer, no. Absolutely not. Because whatever was in their brain to not have any problems killing somebody, being either that impulsive or that psychotic, no. If somebody was a child sex offender, no, I don't think that person could be rehabilitated at all. If somebody shoplifted, somebody stole, somebody did drugs, yeah, absolutely, they could rehabilitate. But when you see these, these politicians, let people out or let them make parole or pardoned even some individuals, that the whole reason why we have a criminal justice system is because we're trying to keep our citizens and, people visiting America, et cetera. We're trying to keep the public safe. So when a 3-person Minnesota panel that included Governor Tim Walz pardoned a man who was convicted of sexually abusing a child and also was an illegal immigrant, starts to make you scratch your head as to what are they doing here. According to KNSI, the Minnesota Board of Pardons, made up of Governor Walz, Attorney General Keith Ellison, and State Supreme Court Chief Justice Natalie Hudson, voted unanimously on June 10th to pardon Tao Lu Veng, a native of Laos who was facing imminent removal of the country. The 42-year-old was convicted in 2006 of first-degree criminal sexual conduct after admitting to sexually assaulting a 10-year-old girl over 2 years. This started in 2002. According to court documents, Vang tried to justify abusing this 10-year-old girl, and when she was 11 and 12, by saying these are cultural norms. He actually offered the girl $10 to stay quiet and actually told investigators she's to blame too. Really? A 10-year-old girl who he's raping? He pleaded guilty in a deal that kept him out of prison, but a federal immigration judge ordered him removed from the country on October 31st, 2006. The conviction stripped him of his the legal status he held since he arrived as a child refugee in 1994. He submitted a letter to the state's Clemency Review Commission expressing regret for his actions and noting that a pardon would allow him to remain in the country with his wife and 6 children. His victim, now an adult, also wrote in support of the pardon. The Clemency Review Commission, a 9-member panel, recommended the pardon. In April, on a 4-2 vote, 3 members were absent. Ellison's office said the board's decision followed an exhaustive review process and weighed the victim's letter alongside numerous letters of community support. The pardon was then got, obviously, swift condemnation of federal officials. ICE said, U.S. Immigration Customs Enforcement said in a statement that the pardon came just a week before Vang was supposed to be removed from the country. And apparently, Governor Walz was kind of a part of this. Now, I'm still kind of confused by a few things. Did the victim did she want this to all be over? And so was she, fine, just pardon him. I don't want to ever hear from it again. I'm an adult now. I'm not sure what's going on. But my concern is we have a lot of sex offenders out there, whether they're legal or not. And I don't understand why pardoning one would happen. Unless, again, they didn't want this person, deported. I mean, is it really all about the vote? You really want a convicted child sex offender's vote? Is that what we're doing? And, I hear the back and forth. I was in New York and talking to some, people in the media going, I don't understand why they're bringing up illegal immigrant crime. It is a fraction of the crime done by citizens. And you're not wrong about that. Number for number, more crimes are done by Americans than illegal immigrants. But the reason why the illegal immigrant crime makes headlines is because it is 100% preventable. You secure the border. You don't let an illegal immigrant get here. You deport them before the crime happens. We save all those people, Lake and Riley, all those people who've been killed, sexual assaulted, etc. With American citizens, it's a little tricky. But our goal when we want to reduce crime is to identify some of the crimes we could prevent and address those mitigating factors. That's just what you're supposed to do, which is why I'm blown away that people don't understand that argument or they pretend they don't. If we could prevent some of the crimes, we're not going to prevent all the crimes. But even if it's a handful, because it's done by illegal immigrants, don't let illegal immigrants come into the country illegally, especially if they have criminal records, or if they commit the crime, don't pardon them and let them stay in the country. If, God forbid, they do commit another heinous act, that's on us. No, it's not a discussion we have time for now, but what do we do with these individuals who are really messed up in the head, that really think that they are allowed to sexually assault a child or murder somebody in the park? Or, I mean, they're not fit to be among us. The man that stabbed the Ukrainian woman who was just riding a train home. And it's interesting because I was just in New York. It's amazing how much more people are aware. They're always looking. There was a lot of police presence, because of the World Cup and because of the Taylor Swift thing, wedding coming up and stuff. But I was in areas that weren't, where that was happening because I walked all around New York and you just see this awareness of don't get close to me, don't get near me. You could just randomly stab me. Interestingly, there was some guy that was just starting, this happened a few times, where somebody just started yelling, screaming, whatever. You could see they had major mental illness. And I look around at the cops that were standing nearby and they didn't do anything, probably because they were supposed to man their post. But I know everybody was like, well, let me get away from this person. They wanted to look, but then they didn't want to make eye contact because they didn't know if he was going to go and stab somebody or hurt somebody. And they just let him walk and just go on and do whatever. And, what are the police supposed to do? If somebody's just randomly, obviously not, of sound mind, are you supposed to stop them and find out what's going on? Or is it now the norm? Because there were a lot of people just out there talking to themselves, whatever. Just see that. And then I'm sure you're going to have some liberals going, now, wait a second. Okay, you are stereotyping people who are just randomly yelling things out loud that they have mental illness. When who are you to say that's mental illness? Because in society, we don't just sit there and start yelling as we're walking across the street and just randomly yelling at people. That's not what, says who? What if that is the norm now? So, we got a lot of work to do. And I just don't understand why, we don't have our Democratic officials, understanding that their job is to keep, the public safe. And, pardoning a sex offender? Come on. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY.
Can you believe, with all the recent violent protests, looting, and destruction, some areas are considering either defunding or abolishing the police? At a time when America's neighborhoods need the protection of police the most, some elected officials would rather create more chaos by playing politics. If you're sick of elected officials caving in to demands of the radical left, you're not alone. It's time we stand up and declare our support for local police. The majority of police officers are important partners in protecting our God-given rights. If you prefer freedom over chaos, then learn how you can help protect the local police that serve your community. Call today and request your free Support Your Local Police info packet. Dial 800-JBS-USA-1. That's 800-JBS-USA-1. Request your free Support Your Local Police info packet by calling 800-JBS-USA-1 today.